you've gotten through Act 6, Chapter 1 at this point, and you'll be moving on to, Act 6, Chapter 1, first fight, sorry. And you'll be moving on to another Ultron. It's similar, if not almost exactly the same, to the Ultron you fought in Act 5.4.6. But it's got a larger health pool, and other than that, you pretty much want to play it the same way. You want to counter him in the same way. And let's get into it. So the path I chose is maybe not recommended, but it worked with the roster I had. So I went for Spider-Man, which would usually be a bad idea to fight an awakened Spider-Man, but that's who I went and fought. So I used Shang-Chi, obviously, for this fight, and the the node in this particular quest really it requires you to be on your toes and be paying attention to your combo, because each fight, the attacker, you, are going to begin with 15 combo charges. Now, each landed basic attack will decrease the combo charges by 1, but then launching a special attack will then reset the charges. If all charges are removed, they are reset, and the attacker is going to suffer a passive degen equal to 100% of the defender's attack rating over 4 seconds. In other words, make sure you're keeping track of your combo meter and make sure that you know that you have 15 hits. No, you don't. You technically have about, I'd say, 12 to 13 if you want to play it more along the edge before you have to throw a special attack, or you're going to basically be whacked. You're done. As well, keeping in mind the fact that you have combo party. So, for every 10 hits on the combo meter, the attacker is gaining a permanent cruelty buff, which is going to increase their critical hit damage by 500. But then when struck, you're going to lose all of your cruelty buffs if your combo meter is lost, and take 40% of the defender's attack as direct damage for each said cruelty buff removed this way. So what this means is you want characters that cannot have their combo meter reset, but they don't have that as like an initial base. You want to, like, for example, if you're going to use Guillotine 2099, you want to do a couple of heavy attacks to get up the combo meter, etc., etc. So basically, don't get hit because those cruelties are going to be removed from you, and then you're going to take 40% of the defender's attack as direct damage. Node that kind of sucks, to be honest, but at the same time, special delivery is more terrible to have to deal with because of the fact that, again, if you lose all of your charges and they're not reset by using a special attack, you're gonna degenerate for 100% of the defender's attack rating. And if you look at just this defender, 100% of his attack rating is only 859, so it's like not quite as bad. But this fight sucks because it's Spider-Man. So he's granted a base 27.95% chance to evade the attacks. It's not going to trigger while blocking unless the attack is unblockable. And this is buffed Spider-Man, keeping in mind that. As well as each taunt he has placed on the opponent is going to have a 2% chance to evade attacks for each taunt. So basically it's going to be an addition. But the duration on non-skill opponents cannot be reduced, and while the opponent is stunned, their ability power rate, is reduced by 50%. So if you use a skill champion that applies a standard slow, like Shang-Chi, you should be okay. But keep in mind that fight's gonna suck, because if you're not using someone that is a slow, it's a parry, medium, and even then you might get evaded, but that's pretty much the easiest way to fight them. Consecutively being able to win, doing it that way. If you don't have a slow, you have a character with a slow, just make sure you're keeping the slow up. So this fight as well, Hela, she's pretty annoying. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. As the second fight in this quest, I was like, crap, I'm already into this fight, and I see the boss right there. You know what? I'm just going to continue to go for it. Death's Embrace. So at the start of the fight, remember, at the start of the fight, and every 30 seconds, Hela gains a fury. When she activates said fury, she's going to become unstoppable for 5 seconds, as well as the fact that her spirits will drain at a significantly reduced rate. So she's going to be gaining her furies on top of that fury every 30 seconds, as well as that unstoppable for 5 seconds every 30 seconds. And of course at the start of the fight as well. And then of course you still have the combo party and special delivery nodes on here. I'm trying to remember who else was on this. Oh yeah, so you have a cornered Heimdall. So whenever a damage over time debuff is applied to him, he's going to gain 300% more power for the duration of the debuff. In other words, you really don't want to rely on debuff characters to do things on this. As well as both of these have feats of power, so when they're above 1 bar of power, they're going to fury buff. When above 2, they're going to gain a precision buff, and when at 3 bars, they're going to get cruelty buff. And it's coming from the Hyperion, who you're going to have to fight. Then we have Medusa. So, the attacker's offensive power rate with the transducer node is increased by 60%, but 1.10% of their max power is passively power drained every second. So it can be very annoying to keep up your power in this fight. And of course, Medusa has that auto block chance, so you want to make sure you're using a Mystic. That can pretty much nullify her ability to do so, or anyone that can basically prevent defensive abilities from activating. Then you have King Groot, who has an enhanced special 1. So basically his SP1, not that hard to dex. And remember, you do not have no retreat in this quest, so you can dash back as many times as you want. You're free from that node. But he does have an unblockable special 1. And like I said, it's not that hard to dex. Just make sure you're paying attention to his power bar when he's at special 1, and making sure you're already within a good, comfortable area to dex said special 1. Because otherwise you're going to get clipped. Then you have Hyperion, and he's got an aspect of evolution. So this one kind of sucks, because basically the longer you stay in this fight, the harder it's going to get, because he has aspect of evolution. So whenever the defender will fill a bar of power, and Hyperion will be doing this constantly because this guy is power gaining like a madman. So you want to come in with someone that's going to get rid of the power gain instantaneously, like a Doctor Doom, a Wiccan, Symbiote Supreme, that's going to be able to just eliminate his power, because he's going to be constantly filling up his power. And each time he does, his attack, his armor, his critical rating, critical resistance, block penetration, and combat power rate, as well as ability accuracy attributes, will increase by 5% for the remainder of the fight, whenever he fills a bar of power. So he fills 2 bars of power before you've got the ability to nullify it and keep the nullify up. Well, each one of those just went up by 10%, and it's going to be even harder to make sure you can keep him within the right power range you want him at. Otherwise, you're going to be in a ton of trouble, because you're going to have to worry about his SP3 almost instantly. And his SP3 is going to do a lot of damage, if not one-shot you. So avoid that. Of course, we've got a mini-boss in this particular quest, in Act 6, Chapter 1, Quest 2. So it has, of course, it is the Sentinel with Arc Overload. So at the start of the fight, and every 20 seconds, the defender is going to gain a 25% armor up buff and a regeneration buff, healing 25% of their max health. These buffs will last for 6 seconds. As well as Biohazard. This one sucks a lot. When struck, a 20% chance to inflict bleed, dealing 100% of attack as direct damage over 7.5 seconds. And when blocking an attack, chance to inflict bleed is 50%, dealing 100% of attack as direct damage over 7.5 seconds. Now, each time the attacker blocks an attack, their block proficiency reduces by 6%. This is the Bubble Shield 3 node. After 10 said stacks of the bubble shield that's going to be applied to you, the defender's next attack will be unblockable. And it doesn't matter if it's a special attack if there's a heavy attack if there's a light or medium, doesn't matter. The next attack that they perform on you, when you reach 10 stacks of bubble shield on you, they're going to be unblockable. As well as the defender's special attacks are going to inflict a heal block debuff and a passive fate seal against regeneration buffs for 10 seconds. They've also got Prey on the Weak. So the defender's going to gain 1% of their max power each time a buff is nullified or expires off the attacker. Armor break debuffs nullify armor up buffs. Essentially, yeah, there you go. Because that passive fate seal, if you have anyone at all, and this includes, I'm almost certain this includes willpower mastery and solve. Because he's going to place that fate seal on you, so every single one of those buffs that you're getting nullified with that fate seal, if you get hit by a special attack, is going to give the defender 1% of their max power. So it's going to suck, because it's not only the nullify that happens to regen passives or buffs, it's if it even expires off the opponent. So if your armor ups expire off of you with using CGR, you're fucked, because you're going to basically be giving them, you're going to be making the fight harder for yourself. Let's just say that. And you still have combo party and special attack delivery. Then, of course, we move on to the final boss of this chapter. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Act 6, Chapter 1, Quest 2. Dang. And he has aggression and armor. So keep that in mind. You're gonna be doing less damage when he applies his armor up to himself. As well as each time the defender, or this Ultron, passively evades an attack, a fatigue debuff is going to be placed on you, and it's going to reduce your critical rating by 1,000 for 15 seconds. So it's going to be doing even less damage. And he has also EMP modification. So whenever the attacker gains a buff, the defender is going to gain an overclock charge, a max of 10 stacks. For each charge, the defender deals plus 15% energy damage with each strike. Defender's special attacks convert all charges into passive shocks, each dealing 25% of attack as energy damage over 10 seconds. He's got backup recovery. When brought below 50% health, the defender gains a burst of 30% power. If a reduction to ability accuracy prevents this, the defender instead recovers 25% of max health. And the worst node on this boss, at least in my opinion, is Spite. While the opponent have active buffs, this champion will activate Power Flood out of Spite, granting 18% power per second. He's going to be up to SP3 before you know it. So you don't want to be using anyone that's buff reliant, or this is going to be a very bad time for you. Okay, so that was a long-winded rundown of Act 6, Chapter 1, Quest 2, which involves the Ultron Prime, Ultron Classic, excuse me, as the final boss, and of course you've got the Sentinel mini-boss. So I hope that helped, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.